All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining me today for our multi-location goal. And if you're already running multi-location, you're on a treat today. If you're thinking about it, I got some good advice, and I have some warning signs and things that you should look at to scale correctly. But we'll give our guests a couple of minutes to join as we get started here. Eric, welcome back. Good to see you, buddy. We got Hazel here as well. Herman, thank you. We got Wolf Martial Arts in the house. Good to see you. Jocelyn, Joshua, Kathleen, welcome. Eric. Lanre, how are you? Good to see you. Okay. All right, let's kick started, right? My name is Tu. I am the owner of InCourage Martial Arts and also the founder of MyStudio. I'm joined here by my co-founder, Lynette. She's on the screen here. And our very special guest today, Master Josh Arcemont of Hero Martial Arts Academy from Texas. Josh, welcome to the program, man.
Hey, Tu. Thanks for having me on the program. I'm excited to share with everybody and hopefully meet some new people on this call as well.
Perfect. I would love to kind of introduce those that don't know who you are. Obviously, we've been long time friends, hung out in Vegas when the Super Show was the thing that we all went there. About 12, 13 years, right? Has it been? Yeah, about 12, 13 years back then. Love the growth that you've kind of, we both kind of seen, but it's particularly from your side. Tell us a little bit about Hero Martial Arts, man, and what the journey is taking you from that time where we met 13 years ago to now.
Yeah, it's been a journey, man. Actually, it was maybe more like 15 years ago, but whatever. I opened in 2010. I think we met in 2011.
You're dating us, man. You're making us sound older than we need to be.
Hey, listen, it is what it is, man. No hiding it. But no, it's been a journey. God, it's been a wild ride. I mean, to go back before Hero, I mean, my family owned a martial arts school, and I started teaching when I was 18. So even though I opened up my own martial arts school when I was 32, I had a lot of experience, running a martial arts school, teaching, and all the stuff that goes along with that before I opened my own martial arts school. So yeah, when we connected in around 2011, this is even pre MyStudio, I was really impressed that, you with you really, and the way you operated your business. And so my whole thing was, when I opened my own school, I wanted to kind of do things my way. I had done it for so long under the umbrella of like my parents and doing kind of the thing they wanted to do. And I had my own artistic ideas and the way I wanted to express myself through business. And so when I opened my school, I kind of said, I'm just going to do things my way. And that's what I did for, I would say 10, 12 years, is I kind of did things, I say my way. However, it's my way with all the stuff I had learned up to that point. And what's funny is, like you asked about the journey, what the journey brought me to was a point where we hit a plateau. The plateau was, we couldn't grow past a certain number of students for years. We kind of hit that plateau of around 280 students, which, listen, I know is good. And it's
very good.
For a lot of people, that would be amazing. But I started to look at my team, the people that I had, my instructors who were students of mine when they started and who were now, trying to make a living off of this one location. And I realized that if I didn't do something else to earn more money and to create more opportunity for them, I was going to lose them because that's kind of why I left my family's martial arts school. There was no opportunity. So yeah, it's just been a progression of seeking advice, finding systems, talking and meeting with the right people, hopping on webinars like this to learn, and just finding the right system that I could implement into my school that would help me grow. And that's
awesome, man.
Yeah, so
and you touch on something that I would love to jump right in on, right? Staffing, and how we view it. But first, how many locations are you operating now, Josh?
Oh yeah, good question. We have 2 locations. We opened up our second location a little over 3 years ago.
Okay, so fairly new. Perfect. So this is really, really cool to jump into. And Josh is the owner of the shopping center that his first location is in. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct. That's a whole nother story there.
How about the second? How about the second one? Do you own that building as well?
No, just the first one we do. We own that. It's a business complex, so we own that.
Yeah.
But the second one we don't know. It's a retail space in a shopping center. So
perfect. InCourage Martial Arts. We run that. Lynette and I still do that. We have a CEO and a team that runs that. We just opened up our 6th location 4 months ago.
Nice.
Technically, yeah, about 3.5 months ago. So we have some, some things to kind of draw on from the 6th location, the 2nd location 3 years ago that we talked about. But I want to dive really quick into, I want to say like this double-edged sword of wanting to grow that Josh just touched base on. He said, I want to make sure that I need to make more money so that I can pay my staff more, because if they cannot make a living, they're going to quit, right? And that is such an important thing to take a look at, because if the main staff member quit, then it's now right back to us teaching every class and rocking everything and doing everything that we can. Now, yes, you make more money doing that way, and it's totally fine if that's the lifestyle that we want to have. You want to do that. This particular webinar is scaling beyond one location. And in order to scale beyond one location, we have to build our staff, and we have to get away from what we are doing, right? So Josh, I'd love for you to kind of hear from you how you did that, and what was that decision like, saying that, okay, I'm going to make more money. How do I do that? Or do I take less money and pay my people more? Like, what did you do?
Yeah, well, it started really before I opened my own martial arts school. I knew I had a vision of what I wanted this thing to be. I knew in my mind I wanted to create a business and not just create a job. I've been teaching martial arts my entire life, working, all day, all night, not having a personal life, what I mean? Like but I loved it. I loved it. I had a passion for it, but I knew when I opened my own martial arts school that I wanted to build a business. So from day one, really day one, I sought and to hire people and train people who could take over parts of that business, whether it's the front office at first, or maybe the people who, or the janitorial, cleaning the mats, cleaning the restrooms. And eventually it would be like, okay, well, every Wednesday night, I'm going to take Wednesday night off, and I want my team to run Wednesday nights, right? And so little by little, I started doing this, but I still couldn't let go.
Josh, the students will all quit if you're not there on Wednesday.
They didn't.
Because you are the best instructor. Like, why? If my students don't see me, they're going to quit, Josh. That is the fear.
And it's legit, because listen, at that time, I was the best. I mean, I was the most qualified and the best one. But I knew I didn't want to paint myself into a corner, because it's a trap, because you never get out of that corner. You start teaching all the classes, spinning all the plates, doing all the things. You become the superstar in the school, and everybody wants you. And when you're not there, it creates a little bit of a problem, only at first, because as you guys know, everyone on this, there's churn. So there's new students coming in, and there's students leaving and new students coming in, and every year.
Yeah, let me touch on that real quick, okay? Because part of this is, part of this is maybe our mind is too big, or it's like maybe hubris working. Right? I'm the best. There's no one that can possibly replace me. I want to just tell you, across 3,400 studios, actually more, 5,000 that have used MyStudio, and currently, average annual churn is at 80%, meaning 80% of your students across, everyone's on here is probably better churn metrics, I get it. But across all of our studios, hundreds of thousands and millions of people who go to martial arts schools, annual average churns at 80%, okay? The lifetime value of member averages about 10 to 15 months. I'm using 15 months because that's here. And the average membership-based business monthly gross is about 18,500. I am sharing this because the data matters here. Whether it is you, the best instructor teaching, right, or a staff member that teaches 80% effective that you are, your student's still going to quit.
That's funny. We didn't even sync up on this, guys. This was just organic. It's true.
Yeah,
It's true.
So if you're worried about your students quitting, they're gonna quit.
Right.
Whether you're on the mats or not, they're gonna quit. Right. It's a matter of just averaging it out, like understanding what all of this and the data that goes through it. And we're gonna go through and we're gonna dive deep into this. But to Josh's point, take off Wednesday. 100% students are not going to quit. Your school is not going to burn down. What it is going to give you, what did taking Wednesday off give you? Like, let's take a look at you as a person first, and I'm going to ask about your team, what that gave your team. But what did taking Wednesday off give you, Josh, back then when you made that decision?
Well, at the time, my kids were in elementary school, right? And so they're playing sports and getting interested in playing soccer and basketball. And so what it gave me was valuable time with my family at a time when I'm only going to have that slice of time for a very short amount of time. You know what I mean? Like, they're only going to be that age for just so long, and then it's over. Like, it literally will be over, and there is no replacing that period of time. And so for me, it was about having that freedom to spend that evening with my wife and with my kids and being there for them.
Plus, how many years ago was that? That
would have been 15 years ago. 15.
So you made that decision 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Take off Wednesday, and then obviously more came. And today, we just talked about, you are an empty nester today, meaning all your kids are off to college already.
That's right. Yep. 20 and 25.
Do you look back at that decision and regretted it?
Oh, it's horrible. Should have never done it. No, I don't regret it. No, of course not. Of course not. You know, it was one of the best strategic decisions I ever made. A little bit scary. You know, it's funny you mentioned that the school isn't going to burn down. So the very first Wednesday I ever took off, I remember this.
Gosh, this is not supposed to be the webinar we're running. But go ahead, share the story.
Keep it real. The very first Wednesday, we're out to eat. I get a phone call. Hey, sir, don't worry. Don't panic. There's a fire outside, but we've got it under control. So literally, like, there was a fire in the grass or something. And I was like, oh my God, like, okay, well, this is a lesson for me in self-control and learning to let go and let them handle it. And it was fine. But it's funny you said that.
The school didn't burn down, but
it did not burn down. No.
So let's talk about this team that you had that handled this fire, right? So I understand what it did for you and for me, right? Taking time off to be with my kids because time is invaluable and we're never going to get it back. What did it do to your team? Like,
great question.
Yeah.
It built the muscle necessary for them to become what they are now, which is people who can run high-level martial arts schools and not have to have me there overseeing them, looking over their shoulder and micromanaging every single day, without giving them the opportunity to slip, fall, trip, make their own mistakes, and build confidence and build that muscle, that metaphor. If you're not doing that, you're actually doing them a disservice. You know, so that's the only way to train your people. I mean, you got to train them.
It's kind of like, hey, let's go. Let's say analogy is like a sports team, right? Let's just keep practicing and practicing. Right. But I'm never going to elevate you from the practice squad to the starting team. How the heck are you going to get better in practice? Right. Game speed is definitely different than practice speed, right? And allowing them to operate without us there is actually them starting in the game. And so the number one takeaway from this right here is you don't have to start cold. You just have to start, right? Maybe it is Saturday mornings. Maybe it is not Saturday morning. Maybe it's the 7 or 8 p.m. class that you're going to leave early at 6, you know, on like 1 day, 2 days a week. All right. And then you're going to go ahead and leave all of Wednesday, right? And why did you pick Wednesday?
You know what? I don't really remember. I think it was just a good midweek. You know, I'll get 2 days in, build a little rhythm, you know,
I think it's the perfect day. It is actually the perfect day. This is how I started similarly as well. Monday is where you set the tone, you set the meetings through the week, right? Tuesdays and Thursdays are typically the busiest day at our InCourage studio, right? Wednesday, my students have already seen me on Monday. Right. Typically they come Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, something like that. So if I'm the main instructor, I've already taught Joey on Monday, and Samantha came as well. On Wednesday, they already got a dose of me. They'll get somebody else. It's okay, right? On doing that. So that's Wednesday is a good day. If those of you guys that have never done this before, it's phenomenal. Weather's nice, go fishing, go play golf, and just let yourself have the time and be. I'm in this business coaching program where I'm taught something that's not fundamentally like natural to me. They say, you got to be selfish to yourself. I'm like, what do you mean be selfish? I got kids. No, you got to be selfish. You got to take time for yourself, because if you don't operate your best, even though you are with your kids or you are with your team, you're probably doing it worse because your communication's off and you're resentful later on because you didn't get your me time. So it's okay to kind of, because we have a lot of pressure on us, right? Running payroll, making sure students are good, teaching the right thing. We always have to be on the mats. I imagine it to like being an actor, you put on a show, but we put on a show 4 or 5 times every day in front of the mats. You got to give yourself some me time. But Josh shared that really important thing. Do it one day at a time, and and eventually it'll get to that point. Can I ask where you are now? Like, what is your day-to-day, weekly cadence look like owning 2 locations?
My really only responsibility right now every week is running our team meeting. We have a big team meeting with just the managers once a week, and it actually happens right after we're done with this. It happens every Tuesday. That's the only thing that I have to do every week, and I don't even have to do that every week, but I make sure and prioritize that and be there when I can. I'm not teaching the classes. I don't have to teach. I'm not on the schedule. I don't have to teach any particular class if I don't want to, but I can if I want to. And then a lot of my times now, honestly, is spent volunteering, giving back to the local school district, either doing career day or PE teacher for a day or free self-defense workshops.
Yeah, that brings leads too, right? You're doing something good and you're bringing leads.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's so, but I do stay busy because I am working on the business. I'm the big picture thinker now. I'm always thinking and looking at what's the next move? What are we looking to do in the next 3 months, 6 months, a year? What's the five-year look like? And aside from that, I also am a consultant for the Martial Arts Industry Association. So I have a lot of time now working with clients who are business owners, like a lot of people on this call, helping them grow their business. So I've kind of taken that skill of teaching and mentoring others and kind of, transitioned it, and now I'm working with martial arts school owners. So funny you asked that because, in the beginning, I started martial arts for myself. And then once I saw what it could do for me, I said, well, I want to teach. I want to give this to other people. So then it became about my students. And then when I opened my own business, it was like, well, now I got to provide for my family, and then I was like, well, if I'm going to provide for my family, I have to make sure and take care of my team. And now it's more about the industry, it's giving back to the industry. So yeah, every stage has still been the same kind of mission, but just at a different level.
Love that.
Yeah.
So I want to give another practical tip to everyone that's here, right? If you have an emergency fund, can you please just click your raise hand button, the little raise hand button that you see there, just kind of put that hand on there. I'd love to see who's got that. Okay. So I kind of mapped that. Yep. There we go. 7, 8. Yeah. Emergency fund. Important, right? Like when business is bad, you kind of need an emergency fund that's there. A lot of people do not look at is actually your emergency fund for your time. Like, I want you to ask yourself this question. How long can I be away from my business until it actually goes into the negative and my business shuts down? Is that 3 months? Is that 3 weeks? Is that 3 days? Because that's the next thing that you want to take a look at, right? And I used to ask myself this question, like, what if I had like a major chronic disease and I had to be in the hospital for like 2 weeks? What happens to my school? Who's running the school? Who's doing that? Who's doing this? I'm scaring you on purpose, okay? Because what I want you to do is actually create that business plan right after this meeting today. Like literally sit down and pretend that you're going to have something's going to happen to you that is bad. And guess what? Something is always going to happen that's bad in life as we grow up. That happens. What happens if I'm away for 2 weeks and I cannot be at my school? Who is running the classes? Who's doing the special events? Who's doing the testing? What is the plan that you're going to give them? Right? It doesn't have to be a crazy plan. Like, here's how you run graduations. Like the kids are going to show up. All they're going to remember is how you tied on the belt. They're like, yeah, I got a new belt. It doesn't need to be perfect, right? And the parents just need to see it as some sort of organized activity. Make a simple thing. And same thing with classes, right? The class doesn't have to be like 100%. It can survive at 70. And guess what? Even if you run 70% of what you run now, your retention rate is going to drop only a couple percent, to be honest with you, right? And if you put 110% in, your retention rate is also going to be increasing just a little bit. That's what I'm trying to get to you guys here is create that plan. And then the best thing for you to do is take 2 weeks off with your loved one and go on vacation.
Great point. Great point. I overly planned for so long. I tried to have everything, every detail meticulously outlined and create a manual, like 100-page manual on how to do everything. It was just too much.
Because we're perfectionists. We care.
Yeah, right.
We want everything to be perfect. And what I'm saying is your students don't expect it to be perfect. Do you think your parents is thinking about, ooh, let me go to InCourage Martial Arts. It is the most important thing in my kid's life that week. Martial arts is important, but we are not that important, right? What I mean by that is we are important in the fact that we complement them in all the other things that they do. We are not that important if I'm not there or the classes is just not on point this week. I'm just not going to quit right away. We don't charge $1,000 or $2,000 per month. We're charging $200. It's not much if you think about it, right? So create that plan. Don't be perfect about it, and then literally take 2 weeks off. What me and my wife did was, and I didn't really have that nice of a plan. We actually took 6 months off after we got married. 6 months, and I gave my team 2 months advance notice. Hey, we're going to take a 6-month honeymoon. We're just going to do it. This is what they do. And I'm expecting them to be like, oh my gosh, why would you do this to us? They were like, cool, we got it. And I was offended. I was like, mildly offended. I was like, what do you mean you're going to be all right? This is Master Tule. Like, I'm the owner of the school, like the head instructor, not going to be there. And they were like, yeah, we're good. And I took 6 months off and I never came back in teaching the schools, right? Because now they build that muscle. And I got over that fear of can they actually do it? And then MyStudio was actually born during the 6 months that we were gone, right? We were actually in Patagonia, like down south, way south of Argentina, like near the polar ice caps, where we actually say, I'm gonna launch summer camp sales, and my team's not even gonna touch it. And they're like, what do you mean we're not gonna touch it? Like, we have to have line the door, have to plan everything. Like, no, we got it. And we just tested it, and we sold I think it was $80,000 that time, and within the first hour. And then that's when our team bought in, right? And then okay, maybe there's something. Let's build something around this. And MyStudio came about. So that's kind of where I really want you to think about that worst case scenario. Like, how much time do I actually have in my business before you even think about scaling to a second location? Like, how much time you can have away from your business before it shuts down determines whether your business owns you or you own your business. My time frame is 6 months. If I can be away from my business for 6 months and it still be okay, I can build so many things around my business to make it do better. Okay. And there are 3 things that I want you to take a look at. 3 what I call KPIs that tells you how well you are positioned to do this, right? To actually take yourself out of the business. Number 1, I kind of beat on the horn about this, right? Is your gross income to payroll ratio. If you are not paying yourself a salary, you got to do it. I want you to think about not Josh Arcemont, the owner. I want you to think about Josh Arcemont, the employee. And you have Josh Arcemont, the owner of the business. And how much would Josh, the owner, pay Josh, the employee, to do his job at Hero? If you are not doing that, you have to kind of do that. Pay yourself a salary. That's the first thing, because it allows you to see what does your ratio look healthy, right? If you say, hey, I'm going to go out and hire someone like me, like Josh, how much do I need to pay that person? This is to Josh's first point. I need to pay my team members more, otherwise they're going to leave. Like, can they actually create not just a lifestyle job? Can they actually create a career out of this? That's what you want to be about, right? And you want your annual gross divided by your total payroll is 3 or higher. Why is this important? Because these are all of our schools right here. Because you want every dollar that you're paying to payroll to make you at least $3 in income. Very important. Okay. The second one, gross income to rent ratio. Your total annual gross divided by your rent has to be 5 or higher. All right. If you own your building like Josh, you would say, how much would I in the market charge my business to be in my building, right? For that. And rent and payroll are the two biggest costs in our line of business. We call this cost, COS, cost of service, right? You may hear like COGS, which is cost of COGS are used for like manufacturing. Like how much did it make? It costs to make like this, I don't know, whatever, this cup, right? And then you sell it a little bit higher. Cost of service, we're in service-based industry. How much does it cost us to service these classes that we provide to our students? And it typically comes down to your rent and your payroll. And our rent is high here in Northern Virginia, but that's also a marketing thing, right? We get walk-bys, we're next to Starbucks, we're next to McDonald's, and things like that. You want to make sure you, right after this, do this here. Is your rent total divided by, your gross divided by your rent higher than 5? Because if they are, I can guarantee you, if you put in the proper salary for yourself, you're going to get a net operating income ratio, which is the third one, of 25% or higher. Okay. So if I step back and look at my first school, right? And let's say my school is doing $300,000. 25% of $300,000 sits somewhere between like 90,000 or something like that, right? 90, I don't know. I'm sorry, not 90,000, like 80,000. If I step back and say, am I okay taking $80,000? Okay. But I don't have to be in my school the whole time. Like, how much is that actually worth to you? Right? That's what you want to think about as a multi-school owner operator. You want to think about that. Because that's important, because you're like, okay, I cannot survive on 80,000 a year. I need that extra 70, 80,000 I was going to pay to myself. Then this is all our net income without me being in the school, of the different schools, right? It averages out to about 30. Okay. Then at that point, you kind of have to open up a second location. Right? Because you're like, well, I just gave half of my salary that I normally make to someone like me to run that school. I only make $80,000 more. What do? I have to open up a second location now. And you want to think in that way, even when you're operating one location, right? How do I step away from the school and have this person run this thing for me? And that's when you start taking Wednesdays off. And on Wednesday off, you start training that second person that's going to open your second location, right? You start looking for new locations to look at. You start looking for new staff. That's going to be your main person, main gal or guy at that second location. It's so important to do that. But you have to look at your stats first. If you're not pulling in 25% in net at your one school, do not open up a second location. That's my point in doing that. Josh, can I talk to you? So when did you fully step out of your first location, Josh?
Probably happened somewhere around 2019, 2020, somewhere in there.
And you don't have your second location yet, yeah?
No, did not have the second location yet. Yeah. Again, we wanted to run that first location sort of like a prototype, so that I knew, just like you said, that I could step away for a period of time, really indefinitely, because if I was going to open a second location, I literally can't be two places at once. And so it would have to run independently of me, without me having to be there. And so our goal, I believe our goal, you know what, now that I'm thinking of it, I think it was like truly when it happened was 2021, I think, because 2021 is when I decided, like you, it wasn't a 6-month thing, but it was a 1-month thing. I said, listen, we're going to work on me removing myself from the business completely for a month. Like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not checking the mail. I'm not, you can't contact me. I may not necessarily be on vacation, but I'm not here because we need to run like a little stress test to see how this thing works when I'm not here at all. And so I think we did that 2021. I had already kind of removed myself from day-to-day teaching, but I was still involved. You know, I was still in it, doing the things here and there.
Administrative tasks, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we did that. And it's funny because that was July. I remember that. And it was a record-breaking July financially. So I wasn't there, and we broke records financially that July. It was the best, not only the best July, the best month financially we had ever had. and I wasn't there. My feelings were hurt too. I wasn't as
but it's the
important as
best
I thought.
feeling though, right? At first you're like, dang, I wasn't
Yeah.
that good. After you're like, perfect. The thing's making money for me while I sleep. Right.
Yeah,
And you're just
and it
actually
wasn't,
the
it
owner.
wasn't
Yeah.
just like, hey, we're going to do that. But it was like, we set a deadline. I met with my top managers and I said, listen, a year from now, or whatever it was, 9 months from now, this is what's going to happen. And so we listed out all of my responsibilities, everything that I had not removed from my plate yet. And those were the things that we needed to train on over the next 9 months, you know.
And typically out of 100 tasks, 20 of them are really important.
Right.
The rest of the 80, like they'll text you or email you if they don't know, you know, like focus on the biggest things, you know?
Yeah, or they'll figure it out.
They'll figure it out.
And that's another thing I learned to do is when they would come to me with questions, I would ask them, what do you think? What would you do?
So I'm gonna teach you. I'm really happy that those of you guys that are on this call joined today, because I'm gonna teach you something that the industry doesn't teach often. All right. Typically, what we're talking about is the operator, how to remove ourselves from the owner operator. We're talking about the operator part, teaching on the floor, running the payroll. And I want you to look at it from an owner's perspective. But there's one more viewpoint that people don't get past. And I'm sharing with you today what that is, right? But before we get there, I want you to think about the owner role first, like team members. And I want you to write this question down for me, which Lynette, right, it really helped me to come up with and think. Because we're going to move about staffing next and how to compensate your staff next. I want you to write down what's in it for me. And I'm talking about for your staff. All your staff members are asking the same exact question. Because when Josh is saying, guys, I wasn't there in that July and we made a record-breaking month, they don't hear that. Great. Josh had a record-breaking month. They're like, I worked my ass off. What's in it for me? That's what they're saying in their brain. Okay, and so you have to answer that question. If we got 10 new enrollments that month and our instructor did a phenomenal job running special events and bringing people in, and you're celebrating with team, guys, we had a record enrollment month. We had 10 new students this month. They're going to celebrate with you, but ultimately you own the business. They're going to ask themselves, what's in it for me? Like, why should I do that again? And that's something that you need to think about, right? I will tell you what we do. Right? That doesn't mean you need to do the same thing that we do. And Josh is going to tell you what he does. That doesn't mean you have to do the same thing what Josh does. You have to answer that question for your team, though. If you're going to really build a team that runs this thing, like we're growing to 25 locations at InCourage in 3 years. And so we have to build that muscle, right? And we've done that really well within the past 5 years to do that. So the last year, our 5 location averaged 1.1 million in revenues, and we netted 30%. That's paying everybody. We netted 30% as the owner of the business. And this is how I pay people. I pay the main person at our school, only one of them. We call them our kind of like management partner. They're not a partner. They don't own equity. They don't own the school. They own the profits only, right? We pay them. I researched the top 10%. Well, that's on LinkedIn of what people are paying them. So I want you to do your homework. Go on LinkedIn. Guess what? Your team's doing the same thing. Whenever you say something that pisses them off, like, you know, forget to, he said this about me, and I'm going to go on LinkedIn and check, because somebody else is going to love having me, and he's going to really feel it that I'm not here. And they're going to go on LinkedIn. They're going to say, okay, never mind. 2 pays really well. I'm going to stay right where I'm at. Because if you don't, and your competitor down the street is hiring for an instructor and they're paying more than you, they're going to apply. That's the first thing you got to do. You got to pay at the top 10%, right? People don't like change. People don't like change. They like working with you, Bridget. They like working with you, Aya, right? They love you, Eric. They don't want to change. Don't give them a reason to change. If they look for somewhere else, they're like, well, they're paying about the same salary, but I know how to work at Eric. My schedule's here. I know my staff member. They're not going to change. The only time they're going to change is when they realize that what you are paying them is so far below market value. That's when they'll change. Don't do that. Don't lose your best team members because of that. So for my top person, we pay him the top, not 10%, we pay him actually 10% more than what the market's calling for. And we pay him 25% of the net of the school. Okay. So I'm going to go back. And I'm going to show you what the net of the schools are. Okay, so this is the gross, and I just worry about the net. We are in a business of making money at each one of these schools. So each one of these guys here that's running this Ashburn, Fairfax, every one of them are getting paid 10% more in salary alone, and then they're getting 25% of these numbers. That, for me, answer what's in it for me question. But even after we pay him 25% of this, we are still coming out with a 1.6 million net, right? We have never had numbers like this when I was working at the schools. The reason why, because I'm thinking about 10, 13, 14 different things like you are. They're only thinking about running that business and running it well, right? So that's how we do it. I'd love to hear from you, Josh. How did you get your team at that one school to get record numbers? And how did you get that one team to continue working with you, not for you, work with you this whole time as you transition to a second location?
Well, I think you gotta have team members that want to grow, that want to have more responsibility, that want more money. Because not everybody wants more money. Like sometimes that's not even a motivator for some people. And it's like, man, if you don't want to grow, you don't want more responsibility, and you don't want more money, probably not a good fit for this team, because that's what we're doing. We're going to grow and we're going to make more money, and we need ambition. So like my team wanted to run a location by themselves. They wanted that responsibility. They wanted us to open a second location to provide them with more opportunity. So this was just a stepping stone to do that. And for that month, I made a deal. I was like, if we hit certain numbers, I'll pay you more. So there was an incentive to do even better because I was gone, and they made a little bit more money. But, like you, I have it's not exactly the same, but it is similar. It's a profit sharing type thing with the managers that if the school does well, they're going to do well. And we have certain goals that we need to hit, and we're keeping payroll at a certain number. So, yeah, it's kind of all that combined, and they were just the right people that, saw the importance of me stepping back and how it will help them grow.
Yeah. And my CFO meets with these managers every week to go over the profit and loss statement. Every week. To look at the expenses, right? Because when you align it that way, like we have a problem. Like when we want to update the mats that is dirty and ripped up, they don't want to do it because they know that every dollar that we spend, they lose 25 cents to their bottom line, which is something I learned, right? And so it used to be before where we made a $1.2 million at our Ashburn school, but we netted only 30,000. The reason why was like we hired 5 full-time instructors there. Mm. Why? Because we needed more instructors. Right. Why? Because they didn't really want to teach. But then when we say, hey, by the way, you're going to have, 25% of net as well, that 30,000 miraculously swelled to about 200,000. And we only had 2 full-time instructors left. We're like, well, what happened, guys? I thought we needed 5. No, we didn't need 5 instructors. We just need an incentive for them to work harder. Right. To Josh's point. Right. So that's how we looked at that. Okay. So from a staffing standpoint, you have to answer to that question, what's in it for me? For other instructors, like we do little things like, hey, for every new enrollment, you're going to get $10. It's so small. You're the full-timers, not the main person. Like the main person gets the 25%. Everybody else gets like a little bonus. And to Josh's point, when they're ready, we're working out a problem right now where like the number 2 in the school wants to open a new school. But then the number 1 at that school is like, I don't want to lose my number 2 because now I got to work harder. So now we got to come up with a solution to like, hey, if your number 2 goes out and you're promoting them, you're getting a massive payback, right? Mm-hmm. For building that person and helping the company per se and that person. So these are things that you grow into as you go like, where we're at 6, 7, going to 10 locations. But first you got to answer that question. What's in it for me? For your staff. Right? Another thing too is like no one likes to work Saturday mornings. Why? Because these young kids like to go out Friday night. At least I like to. Or I just kind of like to have a nice weekend with my family. Right? And so our main guys work Monday through Fridays only. all of them. Saturday is still there. There's classes, there's birthday parties, busy on Saturdays. But if you work Saturdays, you actually get paid like, I think $100 an hour or something like that. So you get paid like $300 to work Saturdays. And if you run birthday party, you get paid more. So then I told my team, like, I don't care who works on Saturday. Somebody has to, but this is what you're going to work. So then it allows my main people to choose to whether take time with their family or make money. The same decisions that I have. Right? So these are some of the things that comes from that idea of like, how do I view this from my staff's point of view? And like it or not, you have to look at it if you want to grow to multiple locations. You cannot just be the owner and say, I want you to do this or do that, because people have feelings, people have wants, people have needs. You kind of have to view it from that standpoint. All right, here's the third point of view that most people never talk about. And this is the actual, like, not the owner of the business, right? But you want to look at this as like, think of it as a private equity company or investor, right? Here's your owner, here's the operator, and you have the investor that sits right up here. You do not work any full-time job because you are running your business and owning your business. But if I want, let's say I pull you back and I say, hey, I actually have $5 million that is sitting here, and I want you to invest that money for me. What would you do with it, Josh?
You gave
real question.
$5 million.
$5 million. What would you do with it?
I would probably look at real estate.
Real estate.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Some people would put in Index 500. Some people would buy NVIDIA or whatever that's hot right now, SpaceX that's IPOing. I rarely hear people say, I'm going to go out there and buy martial arts studios. And here's the reason why, right? I want you to think about it from that standpoint. How much is your business worth if someone was going to buy your business? Your goal as the owner and the CEO of that business, any business, is two things: to generate cash, which is net income, and to drive the valuation of the company at asset higher. Just like a real estate deal that Josh is talking about. My business has a certain amount of value. Let's put it that way. Okay. So I'm going to go back here real quick. All right, Josh, let's say I put this company for sale. Oh, and by the way, the first thing that Josh is going to ask is, do I need to come in there and teach? And I say, no, you're the owner of the company. This company has a full team, a CEO, everyone running in there, and it's generating $1.6 million in cash. How much would you buy it for, Josh? This company's in the market. You're making a bid to me to buy this company.
Probably four times that. If you're saying that 1.6 is what I get, that's what it's making me
every year.
Yeah, 4 times that I'd offer.
All right, 6.4 million.
Yeah.
I'll buy that. Anybody else? 6.4 million. Right? And 6.4 million is kind of the range there, but then how much your business is worth is determined on 2 things. One, am I tired, so tired in my company that I'm like, dude, I can't do it anymore, and I have a medical emergency, and then I'm the main person in there, right? It's making 1.6 million, but Josh is like, well, now I got to go in there and run this company. I'm not going to give you 4 times that. I'm going to give you 2 times that. This is what an investor will look at to how to value a company. Like, what I'm asking you is this: what is my exit strategy? If something terrible happens to me, what is my exit strategy? Am I going to lose this 1.6 million that's sitting here? Or am I actually going to extract some value out of it? And in order to do that, it cannot be dependent on you, right? If I come to Josh and say, oh, I've run everything, man. I got to like get in there. I've run all the meetings. I train all the instructors. Josh is like, oh, man, okay. I'm going to discount that. I'm not going to buy it for 4X. I'll buy it for probably 2X. But now I say, nope, I got a CEO team. Everything is in there. You just become the new owner. He's like, 4X, sure. Easy money. I'll make that money back in 4 years. That's what he's saying. But then I sit back and I would say, well, I don't do anything right now, Josh. I would make the same amount of money in 4 years, and I'll still own 100% of my business. Right? So me as an investor, I would say, I don't want that 6.4 million that Josh is going to give me. My theoretical case that I just told Josh. If you had 5 million, he'll say, I'll put it in real estate. Josh is saying, I'm going to give you 6.4 million right now to buy your business. And I say, I'm going to take that 6.4 million and buy real estate. I'm saying, no, I'm not going to do that because I'm going to make more money at this company right here. I'm going to continue working that company, drive it up, use this 1.6 million I make every year, build new studios, and drive that valuation to maybe 25 school, and I'll sell it for 40 million. That's what I need you to think about, because most people do not talk about, oh yes, we got to get off the floor, but you need to think about driving the valuation of your company and what's your exit strategy, right? Who's going to buy that school from you? If you're not training somebody to be the main person, and then that person can buy that school from you, we are just looking at an expiration business that is just going downwards. So I want you to really think about that. Right?
Hey, can I jump in real quick? I don't mean to, yeah. I just want to share. I won't say who it was, but I had a local martial arts school approach me a few weeks ago about buying their school. But he's 100%, it's 100% personality driven. He's the man in that location. And even though it makes pretty good money on paper, I can't buy that. Who am I going to put in there? He doesn't want to work in there anymore. So what is that business worth? It's not worth anything. It'll fall apart as soon as he leaves. So just to add to that point.
Yeah. And he's probably asking you to buy it because he's in some type of trouble or he's burned out. Yeah. And so now you're selling at like the worst possible state, right? And then the buyer's like Josh, a sophisticated buyer like Josh, who actually has the money. He's like, no, hell no, I'm not going to buy that, right? But if you come from a position of strength where you've built out your team and everything there, and most likely the person that's running that school is actually going to buy it from you. So I know we came into this saying like, how do I grow beyond one location? I'm telling you to set up the system, to push the valuation of your one company higher, and then you sit back and relax and you say, okay, well, someone's going to offer me $400,000 for the school that's making $100,000. I'm just going to say that. And I don't work in the school. Do I take that money? And the answer is probably going to be no. Because you're going to be like, well, I take $400,000 now, I don't have a business anymore, and that $400,000 isn't go very far. Right. I'm probably going to invest in my school. That's what I mean as an investor standpoint, right? You have to think about yourself. Like, if I have this money that someone's going to give me from my school, do I take it? Do I leave it? And if I'm going to take it, that means that your school, you're out of the reason why you're going to take that $400,000 is because you don't see any other way out, or you don't see a way to grow your school. And that's a different story, right? But if you're on this podcast, you're trying to grow beyond one location. So you want to think that way and be like, okay, great. I'm going to build this thing out like I'm going to sell it. And what's the best thing to put it as you're going to sell it? You set it up so that you are not in the school and the numbers look great and everything is just perfect. And then you sit back and you're like, do I want to buy this business? If the answer is yes, then you've done it right because you own the business already. If the answer is no, then you sell it. But at least you're selling it at a point where it's, feasible to buyers when you come in there. That's really important. And that's the number one lock that's going to open you up to multiple locations. Right? And for example, we have a client that grew now to like 350 locations. But when they sold, they had like 100 locations. Right? And their map was like, I'm going to grow to 300. And I've shown that I can do this. And they sold for like $30 million. Right? I'm sorry, it was like $60 million private equity. The martial arts schools are now seeing a consolidation where people are looking, private equity companies are looking to buy brands inside of martial arts. You're going to be worth more if you're not working in your school and you have 6, 10, 25. 25 is a magic number. I'll tell you that. 10 it's respectable, but you're not going to command 8 to 12x EBITDA, which is I just showed you 1.6 million. Like, I will not sell this company for anything less than 10 times. There's no reason for me to. And that's $15 million. I love the business. It's generating 1.7 million in cash. Like, what do I need to sell it for? It's just going to keep growing, right? But if somebody comes in and is like, here, 4x, I'm like, no, I'll buy. 5x, no. 6x, interesting. 7x, ooh, that's getting 10 million. But no, I still like it. I can build this thing more. 15 million, I'll have a serious think about it. That's what I want you to think about, right? But when this thing goes to 25 location, I will take nothing less than 40 million. That's what I want you guys to think about, because where we sit right now, like, you want to grow to 1, 2 locations. And when someone's going to come in and buy you at 4x of your 2, 3 locations, that's worth it. And by the way, and I'll do this in the next webinar that we have, how to set up to actually exit right and franchise grow it out. Right? That'll be the next one. This is one of like our first webinar that comes in from like a multi-location. So takeaway is know your data, know your gross to payroll ratio, make sure it's 3 or higher, and know your gross divided by rent ratio, make sure it's 5 or more. And when you're doing your payroll, make sure you have your payroll that you actually pay yourself if you work in your school in there. Number 2, Josh's great recommendation, take Wednesdays off if you're still working in your school. Spend that day writing the 2-week plan if something drastically bad happened to you. That's what I would spend Wednesday doing. Once you finish doing that, go on vacation for 2 weeks. Let your team do what they do. See what happens. It's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks. And then come back. I guarantee you during those 2 weeks, you're going to do some amazing things as you're working on your business. Amazing things. I guarantee you that. And your team's going to see a lot of growth. Or you're going to come back and be like, the person I thought that was the main person is not really the main person. Either way, you want to find out. Either way, you want to find out. Josh, can you drop your email, or how do people contact you? They need to like get to where you are, brother.
Yeah, sure. Let's see. How do I? It's Master Josh Arcemont. Master Josh, last name Arcemont, ARCEMONT @gmail.com. Oh, I got it right here.
I got it. I just popped that in the chat for you guys.
Thank you.
Great. I would.
If you guys have any questions or want to connect or just want to pick my brain or whatever, definitely you can reach out to me anytime. Josh
is one of the person I really trust in the industry. You have a lot of different personalities out there. I can tell you that this is one person. If I'm going to go somewhere, if I go to Texas, I text him to meet up. He's just a good person, and he does business right. Like, we align on a lot of those things that we just talked about. So check him out for that. If you have any questions, feel free to drop that in the chat, right? But Josh, I think you have 4 questions.
Oh yeah,
that we should go over before we close this out. And this is really good.
Yeah, 4 questions. So guys, just real quick, this ties in perfectly with what Tu was telling you guys. It's 4 questions you want to ask yourself, and these are questions I personally ask myself and reevaluate, every year at minimum. So number 1 question is, what do you want? What do you want out of your business and out of your life? More importantly, your life. Because what you want to start with is you want to design a life first. Think about what you want out of life. How much time off? How much travel? The people you want to be around? How much training do you want to do? Design your life first, and then build a business that supports that life. Instead of the other way around, a lot of times we get into business, and our business, we design the business, and then the business dictates our lifestyle, and sometimes those 2 things don't match. So number 1, ask the question, what do you want? Number 2, why do you want it? This is a big one, because Tu's why may be different than my why. He wants 25 locations. He has a why. My why for having multiple locations may be different, but you need to ask that question. Why do you want it? Is it ego? Is it money? Is it freedom? Why? Because the why is going to help give you that momentum and that push.
It's all 3 for me, Josh. It's just winning, man. Winning.
Getting the most out of life.
And you got to be honest. You got to be honest with
Yes.
yourself about it, right? Don't sugarcoat it. If it's money, it's money. Money's important, right? What you're gonna do with the money is totally different. But like, why are we going into this? Right?
Yeah,
You're
and
in
money
business to
buys
make money. Yeah,
freedom. Money buys whatever that means to you.
Exactly,
But ask that
yeah.
question, because that's really important. And the third thing is how you're going to get it. How are you going to get what you want? How? What are you going to need to do? What kind of person are you going to need to become that you're not right now? What habits are you going to need to create for yourself or get rid of? Because there's a price to pay for everything. There's a price to pay for being lazy. There's a price to pay for being complacent. And there's also a price to pay for being ambitious, but you need to know how you're going to get it. And that really brings us to the last one. Who's going to help you get there? Who is going to build your team? And I don't just mean your staff, although that's important, but your accountant, right? What CRM? The CRM, MyStudio, is a part of your team. Maybe you have a business consultant or a financial consultant. You know, Tu mentioned that he had like a business coaching program or something at one point. So like, build your team. Who's going to help you get there? You know, generally speaking, you want to link up with people who have already done what you want to do and are doing it with integrity, and they align with your values. So those are the 4 questions.
amazing. Good mic drop moment there. You're going to continue to get us from MyStudio. We are the only CRM operator at $500,000 schools that we operate, and we share these thoughts and the amazing people that are on here. Our next guest that we have is actually someone that's actually built a 50 school location. Keep an eye out for that webinar. And has now sold that location, built a 100 location school, sold that, and is now opening another one. So
Nice.
Everything that I just lined up for you guys is going to feed right into that, because what I want to do is just kind of get this industry to think bigger than just let's make $100,000-$200,000 a year. If we're going to challenge the yogas, if we're going to challenge the dance industry, right? Like where they have the hundreds, 200 locations are the norm. We only have a handful of those. You know, Tiger Showman of the world, 50 something, Victory Martial Arts, right? Premier. I mean, Premier is kind of all over the place now, but you kind of look at that like, hey, why not Eric Roach, you know, be the next 100 location? Why not you, Josh Arcemont? You know what I mean? And in order to do that, we gotta be able to think bigger and know how people play in this game. And that's what I want to share with you guys. All right. Let's take whatever we're making right now, $300,000-$400,000 our school, take that to $1 million at the single school and duplicate that to the next one. And then let's have 50 of them making $500,000 each, right? And people in there are very happy. That's how we change and create careers for people. And that's how we really change the industry. And then make a killing for you and your family while doing so, right? Thank you, Josh. Love you, bro. Appreciate you. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for everything you do. Good to see everyone on here.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.